Sunday, everyone, and welcome to episode 12 of the PITSTOP PALS. And what an episode it is! The British Grand Prix blows all of our minds away. Absolutely phenomenal race. We've got a ton to discuss today. Gager, this is just a great Sunday, is it not?
I haven't been that excited since the final race of last year, Dusty. I couldn't believe what was happening. Again, first of all, just good thing everyone got out of there okay, and there wasn't, because that crash was pretty bad. But what a race! What a unbelievable last 10 laps.
It was amazing.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely incredible. Yeah, it was a phenomenal race. Like I said, we've got a ton to discuss as we work our way through this thing. You'll notice that the PITSTOP PALS, if you're watching, looks a little bit different than usual, and that's because we've got a couple of sponsors on board here as we hit episode 12. Mobil One and Mr. Lube have come together as a partner to help us sponsor the PITSTOP PALS. You can have your Mobil One synthetic oil change completed at Mr. Lube, same-day oil change and tire service with no appointment necessary, and we are very happy to announce that we are officially on board with the Mobil One racing team. They provided us with these cool hats, and we've got a bunch to give away as well. We'll actually pay attention later on in the episode. We're gonna have a trivia question where you can win one of these hats. They're valued at $40, and a gift certificate from Mr. Lube. I think that's worth at least twice as much as that. So you can go get the synthetic oil change, get that Mobil One oil. Yeah, it's very exciting. It says, I've got a line here. This is the world's leading automotive manufacturers and F1 podcast. Trust Mobil One synthetic motor oil, and you should too. We'll get to the PITSTOP PALS podium, which is going to be sponsored by Mobil One and Mr. Lube in a little bit. But I mean, Gager, we could sit here for 4 hours today and probably discuss everything that happened in this race. But let's go right to the beginning, man. A massive, massive accident right at the start, which completely changed this race. Allowed some guys to get into the pits and make a few changes. Just your thoughts on how lucky I think everybody was today to come away from that scrap.
Well, just to see the crash and how it, I mean, I think, I forget who was talking about how the car shouldn't be sliding on its upside down for that long. It's kind of designed to flip over. And then to see it kind of flip over and hit the the fence too, like go right over the barrier. I'm just like, oh my gosh. And then not seeing anything for a while because I guess regulations, they can't show anything until, but thank God everyone is okay. Like Zhu coming out of that and seeing him walking away, like just amazing.
How in the world? Like, how in the world? I saw him post a picture later. He looked completely fine. He's like, all good. Halo saved me. I was like, God, man, that's nuts.
Yeah. Like, and even Max was saying afterwards, like all the people that said the no to that Halo. Thank God that Halo was there. Because even they showed in the F2 race, it saved another life. So, good thing everyone walked away. I think, I'm not sure who... was it Albon that or Ocon who was still in the hospital, but everything was okay with him too. So
it was a scary incident. And also I'll just quickly share my race experience today because I woke up this morning in Regina and had a flight back through Calgary to get to Edmonton. So I got to the airport in Regina, set up my iPad, watched the pre-race stuff, and then my flight took off at 7:20. So I was just like, damn it. So I did on the flight from Regina to Calgary. I was like, wow, I'm going to try to get the Wi-Fi on this plane and see if I can actually stream about Wi-Fi. Airplane Wi-Fi is not meant for streaming video. So I was just like, I tried to get a little bit of it, and then I land, and I immediately bring it up on my phone. And, I was on F1 TV and I watched live and everybody was just sort of standing around and the race had been going for like 50 minutes. I was like, what the hell? So I scroll back and I watched the beginning. And so then I watched about 20 laps in the Calgary airport, then got on a flight from Calgary to Edmonton. And when I finally got off in Edmonton, I finished the race like immediately before I even got in my car to head home, because you had texted me along the way. You're like, this race is amazing. I was like, stop, I've only watched 25 laps. It was absolutely absolutely remarkable. And I mean, let's just, from the beginning of the race to the restart, Verstappen slides in at the beginning, takes over first place, and then when they, I guess because they didn't get through the lap, they reset them all. And Carlos Sainz was having none of it. He was having none of it on that second start. I thought, good for you, man. Like, don't let him go do that again.
Yeah, he that was great. I guess the ruling is they explained it as because it didn't get past the second red flag. There's a red flag zone on the first lap. They
Okay.
had to restart in the same positions. Where I was like, "What's going on?" Because I mean, Lewis had a great start. Obviously,
Yeah.
Max did too, but they had to go back to the original grid layout, and obviously there was a few cars that weren't involved at all. But yeah, Carlos. What I guess we can start talking about Carlos.
Yeah,
What
we'll get to
I'm
that in just 1 second. I do want to say, because people are probably wondering, because they've seen me in this hoodie for a while. And Gage, our friends at Mobil One hooked you up with that. It's a jacket, right? You've got a jacket over there. That looks nice.
this thing is the one my nicest item of clothing. It gets hung up
Yeah.
right away. Usually, you throw your jacket on there. Nope, this goes straight on the hanger into the closet. Pristine. I came out with it. My wife was like, "What is that?" I think she was more worried that I went out and bought this thing. But thank you guys at Mobil One for this jacket. I'm the best looking guy in my house right now.
We will also, I imagine you putting it in like a suit bag, like when you get home, put it in, tuck it in there. The good news is that we're going to have some trivia on every episode. And everybody who wins trivia, like we said, we're going to draw one person out of everybody who gets the question correct a little bit later on. You're going to win a hat. You're going to win a gift certificate to Mr. Lube. And then everybody who wins throughout the rest of the season is going to go into a draw for something like I'm wearing or something like Gager's wearing at the end of the year. So some really nice swag coming your way, courtesy the Pit Stop Pals, Mobil One, and Mr. Lube. And that will bring us to the first time we've ever done this, the Mobil One Mr. Lube Pit Stop Pals podium. It's the biggest three storylines coming out of the British Grand Prix. And Gager, what's at the top of the podium today, buddy? Where are we going?
We got to go with Mr. Carlos Sainz. He unreal drive for him today, getting first pole and first victory in Silverstone. What a great track to race on! Just old school. Like I can't wait till I know the names of the corners of this track.
Yeah,
like
they're saying the names of the corners. I'm like, tell me a number.
I know. I was looking them up to know what they are, and well, I'm kind of getting used to Cop's corner and seeing the battle there. But the fact that when Carlos said, and I mean, they were talking about how Ferrari was kind of looking at it from more of a constructor's kind of viewpoint, and the drivers look at it from more of an individual side. And they said that, give Charles a 10 car length. So
I know.
On that last, and I'm just like, no, you can't ask him to do that, And then he says, guys, you can't do this. You can't. I'm going to be fighting off 4 guys here, and I don't. That doesn't help us at all. And for him to just say no to that and then take over and win that race, and then we saw what happened behind. But really happy for him to get that first victory. I had a smile on my face the whole time, and to see how happy he was on the podium and to hear that Spanish national anthem, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a whole Ferrari discussion here around Carlos Sainz, and that's why it's at the top of the podium this week, because I understood where they were coming from earlier in the race. Like, Leclerc had the pace. Leclerc was obviously pushing him. He's like, come on, guys. Like, they waited, they tried, then they pit him. They let Leclerc get by. They played it as nicely as they could to make sure Leclerc was their guy, when really they're not separated by that much technically in the standings. I mean, it wasn't much of a separation coming into this race, let alone the position they were in that race. But then I was flabbergasted to see after they pitted him to get on those soft tires, and they still said, hey, we'd like you to hang back here. I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, what are you doing to Carlos Sainz here? You put him in the better situation with the tires, and you're still asking to hold everybody back for Leclerc? That blew my mind. I mean, good for him to push back, but I thought it was pretty greasy by Ferrari to try to do him like that.
Very greasy. Yeah, I didn't like that at all. And I can see they wanted to make sure they had 2 in the constructors or whatever, but man, it seems that Ferrari they're hesitant with their strategy. Like, they should have pitted Charles. They had time to do it. They could have put him on the softs. The Mattia Benito said that they thought that there was like 9 seconds, I believe, in there, and they didn't think that they could get it done to get them both out. But it was another mistake by Ferrari in the strategy side of things, right? Then they've been kind of, I would say, dropping the ball with Charles for a long time now. He's been kind of screwed over with the strategy side, and you saw it afterwards. He was even his post-race interviews, he was, you don't normally see him that upset, right? And because that I think he was looking at, this is my chance to get back at Max, and now I believe it's only 7 points that he was able to gain in the whole thing, right? So kind of disappointing for him, but again, Charles with awesome race, battling with everyone at the end.
It was great.
These cars, man, it was so exciting to see guys actually be able to battle like that over a longer period of time and not get stuck in that dirty air. It was awesome to watch. Best race of the year by far.
I was joking with you before we came on. I said they should make a rule that with 10 laps left, the leader has to stay out on whatever tire he's on, and everybody else gets to come in for softs and just let it all hang out in the final 10 laps. Because this was, I mean, from start to finish, storylines coming out of this race, by far, I think undoubtedly the best race of the season. And some of the racing, well, not even some of, I mean, the restart was great. And then the racing that followed, the top 3 or 4 cars, Checo, Leclerc, Hamilton. Hamilton was pushed a little bit. That was the best racing we've seen all year. I mean, that was absolutely incredible. I was blown away. It was very impressive. And in the end, Carlos Sainz at the top of the podium this week for us and obviously for the race. Let's continue with the Mobil 1 Mr. Lube Pit Stop PALS podium. Moving down to the second spot, and Lewis Hamilton, man, not bad day for Lewis Hamilton. If he had a better pit stop there late, there's a chance that he could have won this thing. That was tough because it was over 4 seconds that pit stop, wasn't it?
Yeah, they said they could have won this race, which it's kind of I know it's upsetting for Lewis to think, but from where they were to now, Dusty, like that's an amazing accomplishment to think, wow, we could have won this up against Ferraris and Red Bulls here. I mean, Perez with an unbelievable drive too, like driver of the day, to come back for where he is. And just to, they were talking about the battle that we saw in those last 10 laps and the amount of, it was hard racing. It was aggressive, but it was also respectful too, right? Like it was something to watch. Like they weren't giving each other much, but they did give guys lines and so that there wasn't another massive crash. But man, and to see when Carlos and Checo were battling, and then to see like Lewis rip through there, it was like and to hear the crowd, like, man, and I know I talk about F1 TV a lot, Dusty, but when you can go and just look at the helmet cams and see it, like how it actually looks, it was unbelievable.
We would not pimp out F1 TV as much as we do if it wasn't the greatest viewing experience of any sports platform on the planet. Like it's that amazing. It's absolutely incredible. Imagine watching an NHL hockey game and being able to flip to any helmet at any moment to have any players. I mean, maybe it gets there one day eventually, but Formula One TV is absolutely incredible. And it's funny with the crowd, they go crazy when Lewis and they're battling and Lewis just boom, and then Checo comes back and gets him again. It was great. And then Charles got him again too, and then he got back around Leclerc with the DRS. But I'm sitting here today wearing a Red Bull hoodie. I've got a Ferrari t-shirt on underneath, but I do have to say, like I've always said, there's really not one driver that I love. Like I just really enjoy the races and the storylines. But when Lewis cut inside on both of those guys, Gager, I full-blown fist pump. I was like, I don't know, maybe it's because it was Silverstone and it's his track and everything, and he's had a tough year. But there was a full-blown tiger fist pump there. And then it was followed like 10 seconds later by what happened here? Because I thought he was going to, Checo came right back at him, man. That was such a good stretch during that race. Holy smokes.
So exciting. And then, in the what I was thinking about too, gosh, like imagine if Russell doesn't, if he can get his car started again, and because he would have been probably right back in there. This, I can't wait for the Red Bull ring here, because I mean, it's more suited for the Red Bull cars, which I'm sure Max is quite happy about. But this month, just to go back to back to back to back, and just to start it off with that race in Silverstone, 400,000 fans over the weekend, like just unbelievable. Over 120. You saw them out in the track afterwards, and they were saying how the the demographics of F1 have changed. It's a younger crowd. It looks like such a great event to go to. Just unbelievable.
Phenomenal.
Job.
The interaction with the drivers before the race, it looked like an absolutely phenomenal weekend. But today, from start to finish, looked tremendous. One last question on Lewis Hamilton before we move to the third spot on the Pit Stop PALS podium here, Gager. And that is, I mean, overall, with the pace the car had, he ends up with the fastest lap of the race as well. If he had more time, who knows? If he could have got past those guys and taken a run at Sainz maybe a little bit earlier, as opposed to getting, behind Checo, and then Checo even couldn't. They all were kind of tied up with each other, and Sainz managed to separate himself. But what does this drive, what does this finish, what does the last couple weeks mean for Lewis Hamilton and that Mercedes car? What are we seeing here?
Well, I think just the fact that he can now compete. He still said, though they're not as quick on the straights. He said the Ferraris and the Red Bulls still have that straightaway speed. But man, that's I did something weird before, Dusty, just with the helmet cams, because you can hear the bouncing or porpoising, right? And I know the last two races, when you listen to the Mercedes cars, it was like someone hitting a hammer on a block of wood. It was just bang, 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 bang. Yeah. And after the first practice session and only hearing it subtly, I was like, wow, this something different's happened with Mercedes. And you heard Toto Wolff afterwards talking about how encouraged he was with the car. Still a long ways to go, but man, if you can get 6 cars up in this, we talked about this before, buddy. 6 cars battling like this, and to see the type of racing, and I mean, I like Fernando Alonso, and to see him sneaking up at the end and sniffing around too.
Like, he was causing some issues, man. He was right there.
And the Alpine's got some gumption as well. So, God, I just it's so exciting to see, and I feel bad for Max. I do this, but he battled hard with seeing him and Schumacher battle at the end. Yeah. Like, there was just battles everywhere, and to see Schumacher get his first points too, Haas both in the points. Gunther was like, he's probably showering in champagne right now. Man, I had a smile on the whole race, even with the aftermath of everything. So
it was terrific. We had a bunch of storylines that we'll get to once we complete the podium here. Third spot is, it could have been an absolutely disastrous day for Red Bull. And in their opinion, it might still be, considering what happened with Verstappen. But in the end, a heck of a drive from Checo. He's voted driver of the day. And Max hangs in there, obviously, with the issues that he had in his car. His battle there right at the end with Schumacher, when they came around the very last turn, it looked like Schumacher had him. Like, he had the pace to get by him. And back, Max was not having it. He kind of cut him off there. But an interesting result, I guess, today for Red Bull. And Checo moves up a little bit closer to Max in the overall standings.
Well, yeah, they talked about it too, because what do you do with your 1 and 2 drivers? We all know what a great driver Max is, and how he gets if it gets into a situation where Checo's in front, Checo's probably going to have to let Max go. But man, it's fascinating to see, like, some guys getting some points here. Obviously, if Max doesn't. It would be interesting to see what would happen if Max doesn't hit that piece of carbon and mess up the floor of his car, and see what happens there. But one of the most fascinating parts of the race too was when Ferrari told both their drivers, "Okay, battle it out, guys.
Yeah,
Let's see who's going to do." And I was like, "Oh my gosh,
we're good to fight." Didn't he say that?
You're good to fight. And I'm like, "What?" Yeah. And you heard the announcers go, "Is this a good idea to do right now? Like, this is crazy." So great to see that Ferrari is actually saying, "You know what? We're going to let our drivers settle this on the track." So I would love to see that happen with some other teams, because we're probably going to have to see it, especially with Mercedes. And if Checo keeps pace with Max here, I'd love to hear Christian Horner say, "Okay, guys, battle it out.
Oh, that would be good. Let's just take a look at the driver standings after this race today. Verstappen with 181 points is at the top. Checo's at 147. He's in second. So it's Red Bull, then it's Ferrari. Leclerc with 138. Carlos Sainz is right there, man, with 127. There's not a lot of separation there between those two guys. Now, Russell in fifth at 111. Lewis Hamilton in sixth with 93 points. 3 podiums this year for him. 3 podiums for George Russell as well. You've got Lando with 58 points in seventh. Bottas with 46 points in eighth. Esteban Ocon with 39. He is in ninth. And Fernando Alonso, 28 points after a nice finish today. He currently sits in 10th. So 2 Red Bulls, 2 Ferraris, and 2 Mercedes in the top 6. That will wrap up your Mobil 1 Mr. Lube Pit Stop PALS podium for the British Grand Prix, but the episode is far from over. Gager, what else you got on the board over there? You said you almost needed 2 boards today.
Well, there was so much going on, Dusty. I just it was sad to see the obviously the crash, but for Alfa Romeo, just and Bottas having some issues with the car there, and completely, because it's weird how that car just doesn't seem to be working well from that with some mechanical issues, and then but. I think I mentioned before, one of the great things is to see Haas finish in the points, both drivers in the points this weekend. And everyone, I think without that series, I mean, Gunther's kind of like he's got a cult following, I would say, just to see what he says, but very happy to see him with getting in the points now and seeing Haas actually competitive. What's really interesting with, I think, Dusty, is they're the only cars, well, the Williams too, but that haven't brought any upgrades. Like, they're trying to get the maximum out of this car, and they have been. Like, it's weird. It's kind of a good qualifying, a bad race, or a good race, bad qualifying. So they're close, man. I think it's Hungary where they're going to get their upgrade packages, but
so that's later in the month.
Yeah, so they're getting a lot out of this car. And I think I hope, like, and even I think Magnussen was saying that some people have brought upgrades and taken a step back. He's just hoping that once they do get to Hungary, that they do take that couple steps forwards once this upgrade package does come.
Hungary's the final race before summer break, right? Which is only 3.5 weeks or whatever. But interesting timing there if they are going to if they're going to go with that. So yeah, Austria, France, and Hungary as they invade Europe here for the rest of the stretch. What else you got on the board over there, Gager?
It was like, well, I did have something in there. It was when Hamilton was leading. I would have, and I mean, obviously the safety car made a thing, and I think Ferrari or Mercedes could have done a little bit better with the strategy, because they were even mentioning because Lewis was doing so well on those medium tires, right? And I know the safety car, it changed everything, but I was about really 4
seconds back when the safety car changed things, right?
Yeah, but I wish they would have. Because they told him to box, I think, but I would have liked to see him stay out there and then go to softs later, like, because they were thinking maybe go to those hards, and
they were thinking soft, like they mentioned soft for him and Sainz, I believe, like originally. I mean, eventually they got to him because of the situation, but yeah.
But just because those hards, it took like 4 or 5 laps to open those up. It seemed like they were really struggling. Max was, he didn't have the proper downforce in his car, but he was saying what I think I wrote it down. He said he's like skating or driving on ice or something like that. So, but good, it worked out. It still was a podium finish for Hamilton, but Red Bull just seems they're so far ahead in the strategy, like picking the right thing and doing the right thing for their drivers, and all just coming down to mostly mechanical things. But we see it with Ferrari making a poor choice. I think the safety car helped Mercedes a little bit, but man, Red Bull just has that strategy. They're ahead of the game. They're playing chess, it seems like, and everyone else is playing checkers on the strategy side, Dusty.
Did I miss something with Ricardo today? I mean, I might have missed part of it, but he finished behind both Canadians today, and he only finished ahead of Tsunoda, and everybody else was out of the race. He'd had a couple of decent drives recently, but I don't want to take anything away from Stroll and Latifi. But if you're Daniel Ricciardo today and you're rolling in there behind Stroll and Latifi, McLaren can't feel pretty good about yourself. No matter what Stroll did today, that's a tough one for Danny Rick.
I don't think they even mentioned Ricciardo that much on the race.
That's why I'm wondering. I'm like, did I miss something, or did he just drive that horribly today?
Yeah, no, he just didn't have anything going for him today. I compared to Lando, who was, sniffing up at the top again. And I mean, he's great. To see his interaction with the fans afterwards was awesome. But I don't know. That's weird to see. And also the big thing with Latifi, we heard his car didn't get any upgrades, right? He got the old car to drive, right? But then gets to Q3, which I thought was amazing for him. I go, oh my gosh, like that's an amazing feat. He was in the points. I thought there might have been a possibility for him to get the first
just
points.
Let it
season.
slip out. Finish 11th.
Yeah, but not a bad. Not like I wanted to cheer for a Canadian, obviously, at some point, Dusty, and it's tough to see how Stroll and Latifi are doing. But I don't know. There's to hear Vettel talk about the car, and it just seems like it's one or the other, a good qualifying or a good race. You got to put them both together, but obviously it's there. I think it's close. So hopefully we can be cheering for Lance at some point, maybe at the, I don't know if at the top, but hopefully that car can do a little bit better.
All right. Before we wrap up episode 12, we do have a trivia question that we're going to give you. And right now, the best way to answer this would be sliding into my DMs on Twitter. All right. The DMs are open. So slide in there and give us the answer to this question. Very easy question. If you get it correct, you'll go into a draw. Everybody who gets it correct will go into a draw. I'll draw one name. I'll contact you. And you will win one of the hats that we're wearing from Mobil 1 Racing and a gift certificate that I believe these are going to be arriving this week. I believe it's worth almost $100 to Mr. Lube as well. So you can go get everything taken care of. Have your Mobil 1 synthetic oil change completed at Mr. Lube. Same day oil change and tire service with no appointment necessary. And I tell you, buddy, we are looking good today, aren't we? This is good. This is fun. Yeah. I like this.
But, I had one more thing that I let slip. I didn't know because when Carlos got that the alert that he had to start conserving fuel, I was like, no, not again. So that's another reason why I was kind of happy to see him win everything that he's gone through and stuff. And then that essentially the safety car saved him from being overtaken, because he had to lift and coast on the corners because to conserve that fuel, because they have to have some left over for testing at the end of the race, right? So he was getting dangerously close to being overtaken just because of the fuel. So it's good to see that things the stars aligned for Carlos today to win that race and to get the pole in the race. That's awesome for him. So
he's 11 points back. Like, what happens if he gains 11 points here in the next couple of weeks on Charles Leclerc? Like, is it still team orders to get Charles up there? Or is at that point, I mean, it's a fight the rest of the way? What do you do?
Well, he's a smooth operator, and we saw it last year. Yeah. Last year he got better as the season went on, right? So maybe it's a little bit learning more with the car. It's funny. Charles is a great driver, right? It seems like he has more pace at the beginning, and something happens with tires or whatever. But just to hear Ferrari say, "Okay, guys, go at it now." I think there's a mutual respect. I don't think there's going to be a taking guys out or there's I'm really excited to see a battle just between teammates. That's great to see.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun. Let's get back to that trivia question. I never actually asked it. I almost completely forgot. Once again, send the answer to this question into my DMs on Twitter at NielsenTSN1260. Whether you're listening to the podcast, you're watching it on YouTube, or you're watching it on Twitter, where we're now streaming it on Twitter with it being presented to you by Mobil 1 and Mr. Lube. Like I said, we're not going to make you dive deep on these questions, but who had the fastest lap of the day at Silverstone and the British Grand Prix. Send that correct answer into my DMs on Twitter. I will draw one of the winners, and we will contact you, and you'll get hooked up with one of these sick Mobil One racing hats, and also a very nice gift certificate from our new partners at Mr. Lube as well. It's the next era of the Pit Stop Pals. Gage, are you ready for this?
Oh man, and we're going right into a race week. Like
I know
this is great. I have to say my picks in the fantasy pool, like I dominated this weekend. It's a joke. This is what Max must feel like in most races.
You're the Max Verstappen of our fantasy league. My goodness. Well, you got the jacket.
I got the jacket.
All right, Gager, buddy. I'll talk to you on Two Guys and a Goalie on Monday, and we'll have another episode of the Pit Stop Pals next week as well. A huge thanks to Mobil One and Mr. Lube for hopping on board and believing in what we're doing here. And if you're looking for an oil change, go get that oil from Mobil One at Mr. Lube. Gager, we'll talk to you next week, bud.
Perfect, buddy.